As we enter Module 2.4 and take a look at standardizing an intervention system for behavior engagement and attendance, we want to look closely at developing an intervention matrix for behavior and also connect students with the correct intervention based on the motivation or function for their behavior. You can see from the flowchart we're about to walk through that we have three pink sections or three areas where we're going to discuss a standardized intervention that students may receive when they're struggling in the area of behavior. Students might not always be receiving these interventions within a small group. These may be individualized, but the procedures and installation of the interventions can be standardized so that it's easy to match the students to the intervention as soon as they need it. Our first step is to consider our universal screening information to help determine the students who may need additional support. When we think about a universal screening information for behavior, the quickest way to get that information is to use our rule of thumb, which is when a student has more than 2 office referrals, then the student would be considered at risk in the area of behavior. If you're using the Universal Screening Results tool, that's the way it's set up. If you'd like to look at additional areas, the document Universal Screening Areas provides a resource that will identify the areas in early, late elementary school, middle school, and high school. When we examine the results of these, we want to take a look to see if our students are meeting the threshold that we've set. That is, if 80% of students are meeting that threshold. For example, using our office discipline referral data as a screening tool, if 80% of our students have received 2 or fewer office discipline referrals, then we want to confirm that our behavior expectations have been taught and move to supplemental intervention matching for students who are showing need. If we have less than 80% of our students meeting the threshold of 2 or fewer office discipline referrals, we want to confirm behavior expectations are being taught and refine and revise our core support to provide systems and professional development to define how, when, and who should teach and reinforce expectations in our classrooms as we start matching students to supplemental interventions in the area of behavior. When we think about matching students with some sort of supplemental intervention in the area of behavior, this flowchart is matching the students with the right intervention based on a hypothesized function of the behavior. So the first question we want to ask is, does the student have the behavior skills needed to meet the expectation that we've set forth? If the answer is no, then we want to include in that standard protocol or that standard intervention that a group that would teach replacement behavior or social skills. For example, if a student uses inappropriate language towards others consistently throughout the classroom and the teacher has retaught the expectations, then the student may participate in a group that reviews the school-wide expectations to explicitly teach what positive interactions and empathy looks like in all settings, and in some cases, a social skills curriculum may be necessary. If we ask the question as to whether or not the student has the behavior skills to meet the expectation and the answer is yes, then we want to ask the question about the student's behavior. Is it driven by the need for adult or peer attention? And if the answer is yes, then that student would likely benefit from a check-in or check-out program or a mentoring program that has feedback and instruction on replacement behavior aligned with access to adult or peer attention. If attention does not seem to be the motivating the behavior, but avoidance or escape from peers, adults, and tasks, then the team should consider a structured social skills program that incorporates effective replacement behaviors that allows the student to avoid without being disruptive to their learning or the learning of others. If it is necessary to intensify these interventions, then it may be necessary to go to the final step of this flowchart by creating a more explicit, individualized behavior plan based on a competing pathway. The team would engage in more complex assessment to build a stronger individualized behavior plan for the student. A behavior plan based on a competing pathway will help reestablish the team's hypothesis for the function of behavior and build a behavior plan that is based on manipulating the antecedent and consequences to allow for more effective use of reinforcements, explicit teaching, and reinforcement. More explanation of this process is within Module 2.4, where you will also learn more about interventions referenced in this flowchart, as well as the steps to get students matched to those interventions.